It's a system for finding very relevant, very specific technical information on farm production. It was designed to, I guess, overcome the barrier of so much information that was out there, particularly on the internet, and to be able to find it and distill, I guess, an answer to a question or a query very quickly for farmers and farm advisors. It's been going for probably the best part of 5 or 6 years. The design of it was to be able to, I guess, notionally enable a farmer or a farm advisor to say, look, I'm interested in weeds or weed control in Dubbo, to be that specific now, to go into the internet through one of the traditional search engines. You can do that and you will be able to drill down into it and find the answer to that, but it might take you reams of information. It might take you 15 pages of search results. Our idea was to try and distill it very, very succinctly. An example, we were at a conference and a farmer came up and said he had a huge amount of trouble finding a gross margin template for developing a new gross margin on a new enterprise on his farm. He said he'd spent about an hour and a half trying to find that, which he eventually found. And we did a quick search on our system and it came up in the third result on our results page. And he said, that's the one I was looking for. That's exactly what I was after. So that's a good example of how our system works. Essentially, it's not a database-driven system. It's based on searching URLs. So we piece pick specific internet content. And that could be a YouTube clip on how to calibrate a spray rig, or it could be a new report on crocodile farming. And we piece pick those items of internet content and we classify them, categorise them so that you can find them through our system. So I guess our primary target is more farmers, particularly farmers in specific areas. So that we've specialised some of our systems to work specifically with segments of the industry. Irrigation segment, we've got a segment for the New South Wales Farmers Association. We've got a portal for New Rural Industries Australia, which is all about finding information for their membership of very specific nature.
Do you cover the entire continent, or do you have gaps or weaknesses in terms of the sort of information opportunities you offer?
There's always going to be gaps because there's new information coming online every day. There's new reports being released, there's press releases, etc. We try and shy away from the news segment as such. We try to concentrate more on published data and content that is up on websites or on portals elsewhere, rather than concentrate with news. We think that the news segment, particularly in agriculture, is pretty well catered for with brilliant programs such as your own. And so it's more an element of trying to find a very specific window on hard technical information. The gaps, yeah, can emerge at various points. We set up a portal for one organisation and they wanted us to put more focus on a specific segment. I think it was honeybees or something to do with diseases of honeybees. So we then have to go back and re-examine that area, get in touch with the appropriate people and beef up the content.
So I assume it's a user pays website?
Some cases it is. The original revenue model was about it being on that level, and we've got a couple of portals that work like that. We've got a couple that are public and freely accessible. It depends. It's based on us and the amount of work it takes us to develop a portal. The actual portal system is pretty simple, and we've developed a pretty rigorous back-end system that works pretty well and is pretty flexible, but finding the content and finding the way in which content is organised, that tends to be a little bit more horses for courses.
Is it growing?
It is growing. Our experience to date has been that the uptake is very, well, it's not dissimilar to anything in social media or anything on the internet across the board, in that the more people can be exposed or our system can be publicised, obviously the better uptake it is. Segments who have had a really strong marketing push to tell them it exists and this is what it does and this is how it works, they've responded particularly well. A natural resources organisation near where I live, near Bathurst, they really pushed it very hard and they had some really good uptake.
So you're like a quality filter for companies in terms of the intellectual property that they might be managing? Yeah,
to an extent, but we can also help on a range of levels, given organisations that might be generalist organisations. And I'm talking about the likes of stock and station agencies or agribusiness firms or even publishers. They have a number of supporting advertisers, we can create a window to not only structural, technical, public information, but on top of that we can layer over that or intersperse in with it the advertisers' products and services. So our model really suits very well the sorts of advertisers who conduct their own research as well, because they want to be seen to be associated in with that more structural, publicly funded segment.
Very good, very interesting. So you mentioned earlier the proliferation of intelligence, intellectual property on the internet, and how it's just quadrupling, and how are you going to manage all this going forward? I mean, our science is getting more complex, it's getting more effective, it's getting more sophisticated. How do you manage that as you build your public offering?
Well, it is a challenge, and it's the way in which we've hoped to move forward to manage it is to create more of a, I guess, a partnership and a relationship with the organisations that we serve, to the extent that we can say, well, look, if there is a gap or if there's new research coming through and any of your users are aware of it, we can create systems within our portal whereby they can not quite publish their own information, but certainly either through social media or through direct contact say, look, here's an area of information that's growing that needs to be covered.